Let me be straight with you. The job market is brutal right now. You're sending out resumes into a void, getting ghosted by recruiters, and watching people with half your skills somehow land the roles you wanted. It's demoralizing, and if you're sitting there thinking the problem is your resume formatting or that you need one more certification, I want you to stop and actually hear this. The thing that's going to get you hired isn't a keyword-stuffed resume. It's your story, the messy, specific, completely one-of-a-kind story of how you got here. I know that sounds soft. I know it sounds like the kind of advice that belongs on a motivational poster, but there's real science behind it. And when you understand what's actually happening inside a hiring manager's brain, you'll never think about job searching the same way again. Your brain on stories. In 2010, neuroscientist Yuri Hassan and his team at Princeton University ran a study where they put people in an fMRI scanner and had them listen to stories. What they found was stunning. When someone listens to a story being told, their brain activity starts to mirror the storyteller's. Literally. The listener's neural patterns synchronize with the speaker's, a phenomenon Hassan's team called neural coupling. The stronger the coupling, the better the communication. Stories don't just transmit information. They transfer an entire experience from one mind to another. Now think about that in the context of a job interview. You walk in, you recite your qualifications, your years of experience, your technical skills, and the hiring manager's brain stays in passive reception mode. But the moment you say, "Let me tell you about a time when everything went sideways and how we pulled it back," something different happens. Their brain lights up. They're not just listening anymore, they're living it with you. This is not a technique or a trick, it's neuroscience. And the hiring managers who tell you they just had a feeling about a candidate, that feeling is neural coupling in action. The decision is already made before logic kicks in. Here's something that should make you rethink everything. A study by researchers at the University of Toledo found that 33% of interviewers make their hiring decision within the first 90 seconds of meeting a candidate. 90 seconds, before you've said a single word about your experience, before you've answered one question about your skill set. The decision, at least the emotional draft of it, is already forming. Social psychologist Amy Cuddy, in her research at Harvard Business School, spent years studying how people are evaluated in high-stakes situations. Her conclusion was that people assess two things almost instantly: warmth and competence. And critically, warmth comes first. If someone doesn't feel that they can trust you or connect with you, your competence almost doesn't matter. You could be the most technically qualified person in the room, but if you come across as cold or robotic, you lose. Your story is how you create warmth. It's how you walk into a room as a real person instead of a list of achievements. It's how you make someone feel like they already know you a little, and that they like what they know. What makes your story different? Okay, so you believe in the power of storytelling. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think their story has to be inspiring, or dramatic, or that it needs a perfect arc with a clear hero's journey. It doesn't. What it needs to be is specific, authentic, and uniquely yours. LinkedIn's 2023 Global Talent Trends report found that recruiters consistently rank authenticity among the top 3 factors that make candidates memorable after interviews. Not the most polished answers, not the most rehearsed responses. Authenticity, because there are 1,000 people applying for the same job with the same qualifications on paper, but there is only one person who took a wrong turn in their career, spent 2 years doing something completely unrelated, and then came back with an entirely different perspective that made them exceptionally good at the thing they're interviewing for. That person is you, and nobody else can tell that story. The specifics are what make it real, not "I'm passionate about problem solving," and that's what everyone says. But in 2021, I inherited a project that was 3 months behind, had no documentation, and a team that had completely lost confidence in each other. Here's exactly what I did. That's a story. That's the kind of thing that stays in someone's head. How to find the thread in your story. The biggest thing I hear from people is, "I don't have an interesting story." And every single time I hear that, I know it means they haven't looked hard enough. Because your career, whatever it looks like, has a thread running through it. A theme, something you keep gravitating toward, keep getting pulled back to, keep caring about even when you don't have to. Psychologist Dan McAdams, a professor at Northwestern University, has spent decades studying what he calls narrative identity. the idea that humans naturally construct a personal story to make sense of their lives. His research shows that the people who are most resilient, most adaptable, and most successful at navigating change are the ones who have a clear and coherent personal narrative. They know how their past connects to their present, and they can articulate what that means for their future. So here's what you do. Sit down and write out, without judgment, the moments in your career where you felt most alive, most useful, most like yourself. Don't filter it for a job application. Just be honest. Then look at what those moments have in common. That commonality, that theme, is your thread. And once you find it, you'll be able to walk into any interview and tell a story that feels true because it is true. Putting it into practice without sounding like you're performing. Research from the Journal of Applied Psychology found that candidates who use structured storytelling in interviews, specifically frameworks that grounded responses in concrete context, action, and result, were rated significantly more favorably by hiring managers than those who gave abstract or general answers. But here's the key finding. The stories that worked best weren't the most polished. They were the most specific and the most honest. You don't need to memorize a script. You need to know your story well enough that you can tell it like you'd tell it to a friend at dinner, with the real details, the actual numbers, the moment it almost fell apart, the thing you learned. Because when you tell it that way, the hiring manager across the table stops doing a checklist evaluation in their head and starts actually listening. Use this everywhere, not just in interviews. Your LinkedIn summary is not the place for a list of your skills and titles. It's the opening of your story. Your cover letter should read like a human wrote it because they cared about the specific company and the specific role, not like a template with the company name swapped in. These aren't nice to haves. In a market where AI-generated applications are flooding every inbox, the human who sounds genuinely human has an extraordinary advantage. The bottom line, you have spent your entire life becoming who you are. Every choice you made, every detour you took, every time you failed and then figured something out, all of it adds up to a perspective that nobody else has. That is not a soft asset. That is the most valuable and least replicable thing you bring to any table. The hiring managers who remember candidates don't remember the ones with the cleanest resumes. They remember the person whose story made sense, who walked in with a clear sense of where they've been and why it matters, who made them feel in the span of 30 minutes that they understood something true about the world. That person can be you. Your story is already there, you just have to be willing to tell it.